Today is our 100th video. We finished our 1 year round the world trip and we're given a top 5 of the best experiences stroke places we've been. Yes, we've seen it all. Live volcanoes erupting in front of your eyes. We've lost count of the wonders of the world that we've seen and experienced. They've all been great. They've all been amazing. All the iconic places that we've seen, we've had unforgettable memories of every single one. Yeah, seeing animals feast in front of your eyes on a safari. We've exercised in dream locations, seen dream beaches, dream views in the Himalaya as we were trekking there, not to mention many great cultural experiences and great people we've met along the way. We're going to round it up for the top 5 experiences and a breakdown of our budget. Hello everyone and welcome to our 100th video, our very last one of this series of our round the world trip, okay? We've been actually home a couple of months now, so sorry for the delay. But since coming back, we had to wait for the people renting our house to move out, us to move back in. It was basically moving a house, buy a car, get new phones, blah, 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 re-register addresses and everything. Everything else that goes with it, you blink and a couple of months has gone. But yeah, we just want to round everything up because since we've been home, it must have been asked at least 100 times, what was the best place? What was the best this? But, you know, so... As Anna says, we're going to round it all up in today's video and show you the good, the bad and the ugly and pretty much everything in between.
And everything in between. Well, I think we can start off by saying, oh my God, what a year we've had. And you always think before you go, you think 1 year, oh my God, it's such a long time. It's going to feel like a forever. It goes like that and then you're home again. 1 year is nothing nowadays.
But no regrets whatsoever.
Oh,
absolutely no regrets.
No. Yeah. And I think we have calculated now since we came home. We've been to over 25 countries. We've been to 4 different continents. We've seen how many wonders of the world.
I've lost count.
I mean, we've seen a whole lot in the year that's been, and we're gonna have a little bit of our top 5.
There's too many to talk about in one video. We'll be here for 4 hours if we was. But we're gonna try and sum it up to do like a top 5 places stroke experiences along the way. So why don't you start then, Anna? Go on, you start with number 5.
Well, number 5 then I would say would probably one of our, it's a quite, everyone likes it, we love it also, there's a reason for it, and I would say that's Thailand. You can't go wrong with Thailand, huh?
Thailand's Thailand, you know what I mean? It's just got its own unique kind of charm. I first went to Thailand probably close on 30 years ago. I must have been minimum 50 times in between, minimum if not more, in and out all the time. You just never get bored of it, you know what I mean? It's just, it will always have that you can go somewhere, have a bad experience, but you're still going to come back again. Whereas certain places, you have a bad experience and you think, or even if you don't, you could have a great experience, you love the place, but you still got no real inkling to go back again. But Thailand's one of them places that will always draw you back.
For me, it was only my 3rd time going there, so I have not been there at all as many times as Kelvin. But I gotta say, I loved it this time. It's just the easiness of travel. It's very easy to travel within Thailand. The people are super friendly, kind. Food is great. It's cheap. They have beautiful beach.
It's absolute. You walk home 3 o'clock in the morning down dark alleys. Nothing's ever going to happen to you.
Probably some of the most beautiful beaches you will ever find in the world. And I think why it was also a real highlight for us was because our daughter
Signe
came out to visit us.
So it was her Christmas holidays. She came from college to be here and it was great. It was great.
So not only did we just love being in Thailand, we were there over Christmas and New Year's when
we was there 6 weeks in total.
6 weeks. There's a lot of celebrations going on then, even if they don't celebrate Christmas like we do at home. But no, it was lovely. We saw Signe for the first time after 6 months. We went to a few different places. We started in Bangkok. We went to one of Kelvin's favorite places, Kanchanaburi. We went down to the south to Koh Samui. And where else did
Well,
we go?
after Signy we ended up going to Koh Samet.
Oh yeah, Koh Samet as well.
Koh
yeah.
Samet's beautiful. It's one of my favourite islands, Koh Samet.
Yeah,
I'd definitely
it's great.
recommend it.
Yeah.
It's lovely. So check out that video if you've not
Yeah.
already
So
seen
Thailand,
it.
Thailand definitely made the list. So number 4 then.
I'd say for me, number 4, me personally, I love Brazil. I mean, I know Anna's been before, it was my first time. But, there's just something about the place. I mean, I grew up as a kid watching Brazilian football and that, or seeing it when the World Cup would come around. And Rio de Janeiro always had such an exotic sound to it.
Yeah.
You seen kids play. It was always like growing up on a council estate in Manchester. It was like playing football on the beach. It was just like in your wildest dreams of how you envisioned it. And even though we was a little bit unlucky with the weather when we were in Rio, I still loved the place.
Yeah.
It just had such an enigmatic charisma to it. That I definitely wasn't disappointed. No. Often when you've been looking forward to going to a place for so long, you can often be a bit disappointed. But with Brazil, I wasn't, you know. I mean, I'm really glad Anna made me go up to Manaus and the Amazon.
Yeah,
I was
the
a bit
Amazon as well.
50-50 with it first, but that was a great experience.
It's such a cool experience.
Cool, man. And then
out.
Rio, the beaches and the city. Yeah, I mean, definitely, if you're planning a round the world trip, I would definitely recommend putting Rio on the list for sure.
And I think the great thing about Brazil for us was that we got to experience 2 completely different things in Brazil.
In one country.
Well, in one country, exactly. And we also went to Sao Paulo, even though we were just in Sao Paulo, like very, very briefly, but we got to experience both then Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, big cities. And we also flew up. And I mean, you fly up 5 hours straight up. And you're still in the same country.
Yeah, I know.
So I mean, that just tells you how massive Brazil is. And then you come up to Manaus and the Amazon, and you're in the thick of the jungle. You go onto the Amazon River, you stay in a little jungle lodge. You go out fishing piranhas, you see the river, the pink river dolphins. I mean, it's just such a cool experience. So Brazil
and it was
great.
silly cheap as well. It cost nothing really, did it? Yeah.
The only thing we struggled with in Brazil was the Portuguese language. We had just started to get used to the Spanish, and then you think, maybe Portuguese Spanish isn't that different, but it was a big difference.
And even staying in big brand hotels, Hyatts and Hiltons, not so many spoke English.
Even there, they don't speak really good English.
But despite that was the only small negative.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it was great.
Yeah.
And I think, one thing I did like that we did in Brazil, as well as the rest of Latin America, was we travelled ourselves and worked around. We just got local transport around. Took buses, took the metro, and just one walk, loads of it. Just got Google Maps out and went exploring. And a lot of people is be careful. You've got to have guides. You got to have this. We just went out and did it, and we was absolutely fine. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that did it and were totally unlucky and something bad happened. But we was fine.
We were lucky,
and I'm 90% sure I would recommend for most people, it's safe to travel during the day in daylight. Just be careful and use common sense, basically.
And I mean, because we visited the biggest favela they have in Rio de Janeiro with a guide. We didn't go there alone. I don't know if you can do that as a tourist.
They said fine. I'll be honest with you. If you was ever going to go the first time, I'd probably recommend with a guide. But after you've been with a guide, I'd say you get a feel of the place. You could probably go check it out yourself without too many problems, I mean, I did not feel unsafe in the slightest in Brazil. So, great. I definitely put Brazil on the list if you're ever planning around the world trip.
And our number 3 on the list is another country in South America. Well, it's actually the site that we went to, and that was Machu Picchu in Peru. We didn't really like maybe Lima that much. It was just a kind of bit of a crazy big city, and but Machu Picchu. I mean, I've been dreaming about going to Machu Picchu for minimum the last 10 years. And like Kelvin said, sometimes when you have been wanting to go to a place for so long, you can almost get, you know, disappointed, or your expectations is not met.
Just often an anticlimax.
But with Machu Picchu, it was the other way around.
Now,
it was amazing.
But I have to say, what summed it all up for Machu Picchu, when I was in Colombia, I got talking to Andreas, this Swedish guy that I became friends with, and he was on his way there, and he was sort of informing me, oh, I've got this guy, this agent, but he's struggling to get tickets, it's sold out for months in advance. And then I was a bit like, okay, this isn't looking good. So it got me on edge a bit. So when I started contacting hostels to book our accommodation in Lima when I arrived, because I was arriving a day or two before Anna.
Yeah.
The guy that ran the hostel, Carlos, he was great. And I said to him, can you get it? He went, don't worry, leave it with me, I'll fix it. Totally straight, it'll cost you this much, you pay me this, that'll happen. Laid it out, and it all looked a bit like, okay, this sounds a bit whatever. But everything he said went absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
It was like, get off a train and my guide will meet you, and then when you're there, she'll take you here, then you do.
Yeah.
It's like, this sounds way a bit Jekyll, all this, like, but no, it went absolutely perfect.
A lot of things could have gone wrong, but it didn't. Like, it actually went just...
And then the icing on the cake, the guide we had was lovely, the guy. What was his name again? William. Yeah, he was such a nice, genuine guy.
He was great.
Really informative, really professional, but just a totally likeable guy. Like. And then the little hotel we stayed at in Machu Picchu town was lovely.
It was lovely.
And the weather was perfect.
I know,
They just want a cloud in the sky. And it was just like one of them, just nothing could have gone better. You know what I mean?
Because you
really
see, and
good.
we actually, we heard from this other couple that we met in Guatemala, they actually did the Inca Trail. We didn't do the Inca Trail because of my stolen passport. My stolen passport made everything delayed with our time. So we didn't have time to do it. So we did it the lazy way. Took the train up there. But anyway, they actually did the Inca Trail, and I think they had an amazing experience. But the day they got to Machu Picchu, it was raining and cloudy. They couldn't see anything. They couldn't barely even see the ancient city. So we were massively lucky with the weather.
It was great. I mean, like it was when we went to the volcano in Guatemala. 2 days before, people had been and not seen a thing because of the cloud. We went and it was cloudy on the way up and just went perfectly clear as we got there. So, Machu Picchu was one of the several different things we did on the trip where we was just perfectly lucky with the weather, where it just couldn't have been any better. But I have to say, when I've looked into Machu Picchu, it's been on the list for years. But whenever I've looked into it, it's always been expensive, and I've always been like, there's always been a reason not to do it. But again, Anna pushed me into it, and I was very, very glad we did. You've got the Machu Picchu you see on the pictures, but there's so much more than that if you just scan around with a camera.
I know.
And if you've never been and you're thinking of going, check out our video there, because we show the whole landscape, and it's truly breathtaking.
It felt like
really
we were
special,
in the Avatar, the movie.
Yeah, it was.
Like it was
and just everything
so
about
beautiful.
it. I mean, and then like an add-on to that is there's so many other little trips like the salt mines and everything that you can go to that are definitely worth a trip to Peru on their own, to be honest.
Sacred Valley.
So to add all of them into a trip to Machu Picchu, you know, Brazil is a great place, and if anyone's thinking of doing a round the world trip, Peru, sorry. If anyone's thinking of doing a round the world trip and it's interested in Peru, get in touch and we can give you the rundown on places to go. And we'd definitely recommend our agent that we went with, because he was 10 out of 10 with everything he planned. So and then just a slight tangent from that. Literally a month or so after we left, there was a big military martial law come in, a bit of a military coup kind of thing. And they froze all the borders. So again, not only was we really lucky with the weather, we was really lucky with the timing.
Yeah.
If we'd have gone a month later, we could have been stuck there.
Yeah. I think they said over 5,000 tourists from all over the world were stuck at Machu Picchu for weeks on end.
Okay.
Because it was the president was let go because of corruption, and anyway, there was a whole thing in the country, and they went out with the martial law, which means that no one can leave or enter the country. And it went on for weeks. Before
Apparently, yeah. So if you are planning on going to Peru, keep a close eye on the political situation.
Yeah.
This kind of nonsense can happen. But on the other side of that, don't let things like that put you off, because it is definitely worth a visit. Like, and the Peruvian people are nice generally.
Yeah.
But it's the area of Lima where we were staying did feel a little bit but it was just very convenient for the airport, so that's why we stayed. And Carlos was great, so I'm really happy we stayed there actually.
And
all right.
on number 2 on the list was another thing that I also really told Kelvin that we should do. He was a little bit reluctant in the beginning because it was quite big money, but that was the safari that we did in Africa.
Yeah.
And I know, like I said, I have also wanted to do a safari for many, many years. Kelvin was a little bit, really, do we want to waste such a big chunk of money on that? But it was 5 out of 5.
I was in Africa, probably 30 years ago now. Paid to do a safari, and it was one of them, see in the distance over there, there's a monkey kind of thing. It was a proper Mickey Mouse safari. So I always had this on the back of my mind. You pay your money, you go there, and it's nothing like what you envision. But what we did was just way above that. It's like, look at the best national documentary on National Geographic you've seen, and just step into the TV and you're there. It was just unbelievable.
And it was a long, we had a great company that helped us from South Africa. What was it called now again?
Get in touch and we'll give you all the rundown if need be.
I think it was
the company
called
itself,
African Budget Safaris.
It was. Now they did it. Now it's luck of the draw, because the actual company was super professional and always answering emails super quickly. Any little quirks, give you the proper rundown on dates that everything needs to be done. They were great, but it's always touch and go. The actual guides you get, you don't know how good they're going to be, if they're just someone that's worked there too long and a bit disillusioned with it or whatever. But we have free guides, and I'm pretty sure if you interviewed every guide in Africa, you couldn't have got 3 better ones. They were just absolutely 10 out of 10. Like
10 out of 10.
And, I could not recommend it.
Almost to the day, 3 weeks, 20 days. And we traveled through 4 different countries. Started in Cape Town in South Africa, then we went all the way up through, north in South Africa, into Namibia, traveled all the way through Namibia, into Botswana, and then finishing in Zimbabwe at Victoria Falls. So the safari was so much more than just seeing the animals.
It wasn't just go out, there's a lion, there's a it was just everything.
It was so much more.
We went to the Namib Desert, and I've seen little snippets of it on various documentaries and travel shows. But when you're there, like trekking in deserts and sort of sandboarding down big sand dunes, and it was just like
coming to a big salt pan where they had 30, 40 dead trees that it's just we stepped into National Geographic on that one.
In every respect, the stars at night, the whatever, got these. The thing about that safari is a lot of people they book a 2-week holiday to Kenya, and it includes a safari. Now that's great, you see the animals, but what we did was so much more. Even when we was in Botswana, not Botswana, where I did Zipkomund, where I did the
Swakopmund, that was Namibia.
Namibia. So the big city big by their standards in Namibia is a city called Swakopmund. And when we was there, I did one of the kind of ghetto tours, and you met the local people. It's like a town, townships, like they're what they call townships, like ghetto type things. And it was just really interesting to see. You mixed with the locals, you spoke to them, you got info about different cultures all coming together in a city. Different tribal cultures, you're playing with the kids and all that, you're going round and seeing how the infrastructure's changing. So there's just so much more than doing a whiz round. It was just everything. I have to say, it wasn't pennies, but it was
still
worth
not
every
crazy. Yeah,
penny. You know,
I mean, we also visited. We went to a place called Spitzkop, also in Namibia, where we visited boulders that were about 140 million years old. We visited national parks, waterfalls. I mean, all of these. I mean, we did camping. Well, kind of like glamping. So in certain national parks we were staying, we were like camping inside the national park, which meant that some of the animals could actually be walking around indoor.
Yeah, and we heard a few as well.
We heard a few in one of our last nights in Botswana. There was a mad African storm. Like you're just in the thick of it. You're not like, you know, going out for 1 hour a day, seeing some animals, and then you go into your super luxury lodge. You're like, you're in the thick of it. We sat in that our little safari bus. There was nothing glamorous about that bus whatsoever. It was old school. There was no AC. Every other day we sat in that bus for 10 hours on really bumpy, potholey roads. But we just loved every minute of it.
I mean, I think it was a combination. The trip itself was amazing. It was great.
And the people.
But we had 3 great guides. They couldn't have been any better.
Yeah.
And was it 9 or 10 people in our group?
No, I think we were actually 14.
14, sorry, yeah. Because a group of Italians joined us a few days later. So in the end, there was 14 in the group. And as different as you can get, like 5 old, different nationalities.
Yeah.
And, you know, but everyone got on really good. I mean, in these kind of trips, all it takes is one bad apple and it can spoil it for everyone. Yeah. But our group was really, really good. Yeah. And that's the icing on the cake, really. So we were super lucky with the... I mean, the safari itself was amazing, but we was lucky with everything else. Yeah. Weather and no breakdowns of the truck. The group were good, blah, blah, blah. So,
and I mean, we did pay a lot of money for it, but I still don't think it was crazy. I think per person for everything included, you know, all the things we did on the safari, food and everything. I think we paid about 3,500 to 4,000 euros each, but that was for 3 weeks. And then, of course, including accommodation and food every day and all the tours and everything. 3
good meals a day. You was not hungry in the slightest.
When we were researching the safari, we saw safaris that were 7 days that cost 8,000 euros for only 7 days. And we paid half of that for 3 weeks. So I still don't think it was that much, to be honest. And it was worth every penny.
Nah, definitely. If you're planning on doing one of these safaris and you want to do a free week, get in touch. We can definitely give you more of an accurate rundown on the do's and don'ts. But definitely, anyone that has the opportunity. I was very sceptical before I did it, but now I'm 100% convert. I'd recommend it to anybody for sure.
Yeah. And our number 1 on the list, should we do a little drum roll? It's actually, we're staying in the same continent. We're staying in one of the same countries. It's actually Cape Town in South Africa.
But that's part of the safari, really, I'd say.
Well, what would you say at number 1 then?
Well, it's got to be the Himalaya, really.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, so let's do Cape Town as a little...
Cape Town is kind of shared with the African safari,
shared. But just quickly about Cape Town. We had heard so much about Cape Town before we went there. We had family and friends who had been there. Everyone loved it. But they just didn't say exactly how great it was.
Like I've met many different people that's been to Cape Town, and nobody's ever said they don't like it. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's Cape Town. Yeah, it's great." But no one went, "It is great," and it is. It really is. Like I mean, everything we did. The weather was great, and that always adds to it.
Yeah.
But where we stayed, unbeknownst to us, it was just luck that we just booked something and we stayed there. Was not hands down the best place to stay in town, really. Yeah. Right on the beach, great little queue play, sea point. It was perfect. Everything you need. But it's just the overall ambience of the place.
The overall atmosphere.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
like,
we were staying actually in a really really cool place. I think it was called Mojo. It was both a hostel and a real hotel, so you could share. You could
It's like one floor was all shared accommodation.
Yeah.
The next floor was more private rooms, kind of thing.
And on the ground floor, they had like a massive food market, and apparently super popular among the locals. The locals would go there. They would have their after works on a Friday, or they had live music pretty much every day of the week.
They used to show the football there on the weekends, so that was handy. He just got the lift down the stairs and I could watch the game. So
and it wasn't that tiny. Like it was a massive floor. They probably had well over 50 to 60 different food stalls or
that,
like
you think
kitchens.
that many, really?
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe.
They had like vodka bars and like bars only exclusively for alcohol. And like I said, live music every day. It was just such an atmosphere.
It just had a carnival atmosphere every
Yeah.
night of the week, basically. Yeah, it was great. So,
And so we were staying in an area called Sea Point, which was absolutely beautiful. About another like couple of kilometers away from there, there's another area that's also super popular in Cape Town called Waterfront. And on the weekend, they had an area there close to the waterfront where they had a farmer's market.
Yeah.
And that was also
That was cool.
so cool.
I mean, it's farmers market, but you could just go and hang out there.
Yeah.
It was
They also had lots. They had
was-
a whole area of food you can eat and
We
drink.
had, when we did the little trips to like Robben Island and
Table Mountains.
them things, we had great guides, which always helped.
Yeah.
And there was one guide, Robben Island, and he said it. He goes, the UN have voted South Africa or voted Cape Town the most tourist-friendly city in the world, and I can totally see it.
Like
It's
the
just,
number one most popular destination for tourists to travel to in the whole world.
You know.
And we can totally understand
Oh,
why.
100%. Like,
And I mean, this
it's-
is Cape Town itself with the Table Mountain, Robben Island, all the cool things to do around. They have hop-on, hop-off buses. But we also did a day tour out to the vineyards, to the winelands.
Yeah, definitely.
Which
do
was
that.
also
That was
absolutely amazing. Stellenbosch and Parle and
them little towns are
Brunswick.
like, it's just
Like
there's no words to describe how
exactly.
quaint and beautiful they
They
are.
were
like,
so picturesque. I mean, we've traveled a lot, both of us, and I don't think I've ever been to such a quaint
Cape
place.
Town and the region blew me away.
Yeah.
And then also, it sort of combined with a safari, but we did a little excursion down to the Cape of Good Hope, which is a couple of hours out of Cape Town, the very southern tip of Africa. Southern tip of the whole African continent. And along the way, there's all these beautiful little quintessential towns and that. It's literally like the best example I can give is, or the best comparison is, they went to England on the sunniest day of the year.
The best day of the year.
And chose the most quaint little beautiful towns in like Somerset and
Lake District,
Devon,
Cornwall,
and, Cornwall and all these places, and just picked them up and put them in Africa. It's literally like that. Oh man, I have to say, if I won the lottery and money just wasn't an option, you could pretty much live anywhere in the world.
We could.
Cape Town will be on a very short list, I have to
definitely.
say. So,
All right, guys, time is going fast here now. We don't want to take up all your time. So, okay, drum roll again then for place number 1 on our top 5 list. The Himalayas and Nepal. I have my little Annapurna t-shirt on actually. Oh, Kelvin had done it before. Here now, I was a little bit reluctant and skeptical. Mostly because I really struggled when we did the trek up the volcano in Guatemala. So I was a little bit nervous if I was going to really make this challenging trek up the Annapurna base camp over 4,000 meters high. And, Kelvin had told me that, it's like thousands and thousands of steps up and obviously very steep. Not so great air quality up there and
Well, the air can get a bit thin. Like.
I was a little bit nervous.
I'll be honest with you. I was as well. I thought Anna's going to really struggle here, but I have to say she did really good.
I'm so proud of myself.
The thing is, like, everyone's got guides and sticks and all the right equipment and €500 hiking boots and whatever and We winged it in a dirty old pair of trainers.
with a hole in it.
Just like tracksuit bottoms and a whatever.
Yeah.
No like warm clothing or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just totally winged it and got up there. Crappy old pair of trainers, you know, soaked through your feet.
Yeah.
We did it proper old school style.
Yeah.
No guide or anything. And we, you know, and I'm convinced we still had a better experience than people with the guides going round.
Yeah.
Now, no disrespect to the guides and that. Many of them are very, very good, but you do hear mixed stories when you're chatting to people and they say, "Oh, my guide's great. I definitely recommend it." But for everyone, it was definitely worth the money because this, that, and the other. Yeah, you do meet people that say that, but every person you meet you usually meet a couple that aren't too happy with theirs and say, "I'd much rather have done it on my own."
And then you have to spend all the hours of the day with them, and usually you have to maybe.
Well, it's not just that they've got their food. Little. I mean, it is expensive doing it with a guide, but we purposely, because I've done it before and I knew exactly what to expect. I said to him, last time we went up too quick and down too quick.
Yeah.
Just didn't enjoy it. Half the time you're just pounding away without really taking in the sights.
Yeah.
So we planned it properly that we took a rest day on the way up and a rest day on the way back. Stayed at a little quaint town called Chomrung. And next time I go to Nepal, I'll probably just go and have a holiday on its own in Chomrung. I won't even go all the way because there alone the views are breathtaking.
Oh my goodness, And they have so many guest houses.
Check out our Nepal videos to get a bigger picture. But for anybody planning a round the world trip or any bucket list, if someone says like bucket list, what a few people have asked us, like, if there's one thing, like, I've got 6 months to live, there's only one thing I can do.
Yeah, you have
What's the thing?
to do the
I would
Himalaya.
definitely say Nepal, man.
Yeah.
Because as someone says, a friend of ours, Jack, who was there working on a project saving leopards and that, he was an absolute diamond, this guy, like.
So great.
So he said it and he summed it up. He goes, a trek here in the Himalaya, especially to the Annapurna region where we was, he goes, it's so much more than a trek. It's like a pilgrimage.
It's a pilgrimage,
and it really is.
Yeah.
And I would say 9 people out of 10 minimum that do a trek in Nepal, you leave a different person, and for the better as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used a little analogy when I was up there, and I said, like, if everyone on this planet came here and did this trek, psychiatrists would be going out of business all over the world because it's hard just to be depressed when you're up there. It just cures any little bit of anxiety you've got because it just totally transforms your brain. Like,
and what I loved is that we really took our time. So we did the Annapurna base camp trek. You can do it however quick or slow you want to. We walked up in 6 days. It was day number 6 we actually reached the base camp, and then we walked down about the same day. So I think it was in total 12 days for us. We could have done it probably in half that time if you wanted to, but we really wanted to take our time and enjoy it and actually
that's basically
savor it.
what we did last time. We went up too quick, down too quick.
Because you did it in 7 days.
7 or 8 days or something last time. And
it
was just like young and stupid in your 20s. Your
Yeah.
ego gets a bit, if they did it in 8 days, we do it in 7 kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
So this time I said, hands down,
Yeah.
I'm going to go and enjoy this experience. Like,
And I
and
mean,
that's what we did. And
the views and the landscapes. Wherever
The
you
people,
were,
everything.
you had a
the Nepali
360
people
degree.
are lovely. They are so nice.
Yeah.
9 people out of 10 you meet on treks are nice people.
Yeah.
You're not getting like scruffs and that on the ski, you know what I mean? Scummy people. You know, the people that are generally into nature and are into like, you know, having great life experiences. So there was 1 or 2, but 9 people out of 10 were great that we met along the way.
Yeah.
That was good. And then the little because we had quite long to kill before we flew to India in Nepal. After we did our trek, we ended up staying in Pokhara for another couple of weeks with the same family.
Yeah.
So we really got to know them and become friends.
Yeah.
And it was the equivalent of having a little homestay experience mixed in with a trek, and so the overall package for us was amazing. And I have to say,
I would say also, even though the trek was amazing, the actual trek was amazing, the guest houses, the people we met and everything, But Pokhara in itself
Pokhara
is
is
one of the
kind of the
highlights.
town they use as a base to go trekking.
Pokhara is
and
a gateway.
I love Pokhara.
Yeah.
I mean, I could literally, if I was going to Nepal for a month, let's say I was in between jobs, got a month to kill, and you're like, well, what's it? Okay, I've just got. If I went to Nepal, I probably wouldn't trek all the way. I'd probably go up to Chomrong, stay 3 or 4 days in Chomrong, see a few of the nice people that we know there.
Yeah.
And just go and hang out in Pokhara for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got a beautiful lake there, surrounded by mountains.
So
you've
beautiful.
got loads of little fun things, touristy things you can do.
Great
You've got
restaurants.
cheap as hell, but great standard of food.
Yeah.
You've got like coffee shops that won't be out of place in Paris or Milan.
You can do the cable cars.
Yeah, cable cars. Go rowing on the lake and the boats. Oh man, it is just.
Yeah,
I've just not got a bad word to say about Nepal. I love it totally.
Just to give you a little bit of a reference then, most people who go to Nepal, you probably will most likely fly into Kathmandu. From Kathmandu, there's 2 ways to get to Pokhara. You can either take a 10-hour bus ride, which we did both ways, which is not...
Maybe that's the only downside of Nepal, but it adds to the experience as well.
It's not the most nice bus ride. It's quite steep.
Let me put it this way, my hair wasn't grey before I went on that bus.
So it's a little bit scary, the bus ride. It's 10 hours, or you can fly from Kathmandu to Pokhara. It takes about 35 minutes. The reason why we didn't fly was that there had been a flight crash like a few months before we went there, and it is always a little bit risky.
I think
flying up in the
statistically
Himalaya.
flying safer than going on the bus, but
because of that
accident,
we chose to go with the bus.
But Nepal, hands down, is an amazing place.
I would love to go back. To go back.
Mm.
Anyway, so that was the top 5. So how about any bad experiences? Did you have any bad?
Yours, really. I mean, there was a little bit of an...
that was all in the beginning,
right in the beginning, when we was leaving Mexico, we was flying to Guatemala. Mad chaos at the airport. Anyway, to cut a long story short, check the video if you want to know the full story. But long story short, I eventually got it back. But it ended up with a happy ending.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, it was a proper kick in the stomach, the first month of your holiday.
And then, of course, it was the even worse event that it not unfortunately had a happy ending. It was when I had my backpack stolen on a bus in Costa Rica, and I had my passport in it. There's also a video about that if you want to go back and look. So, but I would say those 2 events were the only 2 bad ones.
After that,
and that happened in the beginning.
Went wrong.
Yeah,
we wasn't really sick.
We weren't really. I mean, a little bad
stomach
here and there,
in Brazil, but apart from that, everything was
I got a little bit of either flu, COVID, or malaria when we just came to Cape Town. So I was a little bit sick for 2 weeks there, but other than that,
we was very lucky.
We were super lucky,
and even
no
with
broken
Signe,
bones.
she's flying out, and her flights were on time, and everything went. So all the little logistical things went really well.
And I think if we just say overall about long-term travel like we did now for a whole year. I think many people can agree when I say this. Sometimes when you have been on a holiday, you almost feel like you need a holiday after the holiday. Because it is quite intense to be on a holiday. It's great, it's fun, it's lovely. But you have new impressions every day. You meet new people, you see new things. There is a lot of logistics. You have to book flight tickets, bus tickets, trains, tuk-tuks, taxis,
visas
hotels,
to the next country.
Visas and everything. So there's a lot of logistical and administration to do. And obviously, when you come to a new place, we have to research. What do you do? What's the best thing to do here? And then you want to see and do as much as possible when you are in that country for the short period of time when you're there. So our advice now, after having traveled for a whole year, is that give yourselves at least minimum between 4 to 6 times during the year where you just have maybe 2 weeks of nothing. Find a great place. For us, we found Siem Reap in Cambodia, and where else were we? Kanchanaburi in Thailand, Nha Trang in Vietnam, where we just we're actually really exhausted and almost a little bit burned out from the travel, from the intensity, and also to mention in all of our countries that we traveled, it was usually around 38 to 40 degrees, really humid, hot and sticky, which also kind of adds to the oh God, I'm exhausted, it's hot, it's sticky. So give yourself some times just to slow down, do nothing. We'll also add to that because we had our YouTube channel. So on top of all the intensity of the travel and the sightseeing and everything, we also had a little bit of the pressure of like, we have to edit our videos. We're 2 weeks behind now. So when we came to Canterbury,
most travel YouTubers, they go do a trip for a month, go home, spend a few weeks editing it and put it out. We couldn't because we're just on the go all the time.
So we were editing on the go, and sometimes it was quite intense with the travel. So then we didn't have time to do any editing, or we had super bad Wi-Fi or internet connection. So every now and then we would be like, okay, we're gonna sit here now for 2 weeks and just we sat pretty much between 6 to 8 hours every day, just editing videos and actually just caught up with the backlog of our editing.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up our once in a lifetime 1 year around the world trip, we had a lovely time. If anyone is going around thinking, oh, I would love to do a thing like that, but I don't know if I dare, do I have enough money? Just go for it. Go for it. You're never going to regret it. It's wonderful. Exactly.
So no regrets whatsoever. We spent a lot of money, which we'll come to in a moment. Yeah. But as Anna just said, I'll just sum it up by saying I 100% would recommend it.
To everyone, no matter age or experience. Even if you haven't traveled so much.
We're in our 50s and can do it. We met people much older than us.
We met people in their 70s going out traveling for a year. So I mean, you're never too old. It's never too late. You're always going to regret it if you don't do it. So freaking go ahead and do it now.
All right. So now we'll go on to the next little subject about budget.
So regarding the budget, we have spent a lot of money, but I still think it's not crazy lots of money when you think of all the things we got for the money. So
I think between the two of us, we won't say individually, but between the two of us, what, about 50,000 euros?
I would say somewhere between 50 to 60,000 euros.
No, it won't 60. No.
But around 50.
It depends a little bit on the exchange rate, of course. But in terms of, at the moment, with the Swedish krona compared to the euro, it was somewhere around 52,000 euros.
Between the two of us. And that was including everything.
Food, tickets, accommodation, you name it.
Flight tickets, accommodation, food, all the tours we did everywhere, the safari.
And I mean,
everything.
Budget-wise, you can do very well.
And I mean, almost everywhere, wherever we were, if we were having doubts about doing a tour, we're like, oh, should we do that tour or not? It's quite expensive. We always went for it. Because we always had we don't know if we're ever going to come back to this country again.
For example, when I was at Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, it's like, I've wanted to come here since I was a kid. Probably never ever get here again. And and you're like, but if you do the I wanted to do the helicopter ride, but I think
it was about
$200 or something.
$200 for the both of us.
For two people, so it won't. I mean, it don't sound a lot. If you're there on a 2-week holiday, that's nothing. You just do it. But when you're planning another year of travel on top of it, you've got to be super careful with your budget.
Strict with your budget,
But in the end, we're like, just go for it, you know what I mean? And I have no regrets. I'm really glad we did now. So
because we wanted to be out for a whole year, so we mainly focused on the cheaper countries in Latin America, Asia, and then obviously Israel and a few other places were a little bit more expensive than others, but in general I would say 90% of the places we went to were fairly cheap. Definitely Asia, of course, Cambodia probably be.
Well, if you are planning a trip around the world and you want more advice on budget, just reach out and we'll give you a more accurate rundown. Okay, and then last but not least, now we're home, the transition, and we'll round everything up with how life is. Now we're back in Sweden. So, okay, it's good to be back in Sweden for many reasons. I love our house. I'll give you a quick 2-minute scan round so you can see where we live. It is lovely there, no regrets about moving out to the country and everything. It's great to see friends and family again, of course. And there's one little thing that I really did miss on the travel. It's Swedish coffee, man. Proper brig cafe, as they say. Like freshly brewed coffee.
Freshly brewed Swedish coffee.
On our trip, we went to all the countries that are sort of famous for coffee. Brazil, Honduras, Guatemala, But nowhere was it as good as Swedish coffee. So I did miss Swedish coffee, and I'm enjoying it now I'm home, which is good. And then, of course, I love our house. You can have a little bit of a view here. It's pretty much a brand new house.
It's coming
with
up to
a
be
nice
a storm
view
now.
of the lake. So the storm clouds are brewing, but the weather has been good since we've been home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to say there's a lot of positives about us being home again.
Yeah.
And like we say, we have absolutely no regrets.
No.
Anyone that's even contemplating it slightly about doing a trip, reach out and we can give you more information and more up-to-date, accurate breakdowns.
Yeah.
And then just a little side note, I'm hoping to, well, I've started running little training camps come retreats at our place out here in Sweden. More of them will be coming in the future. And then hopefully I'm planning to do specific training camps for anyone planning on doing treks to the Himalaya. Having done it twice, I feel I'm reasonably qualified or very qualified to give accurate training plans for exactly what would suit you for your to do the trek. Not only healthily without any body problems, but to be able to fully take in the whole experience. So keep watching for those, and you'll have more information when they come. In the meantime, enjoy travel, stay healthy, and thanks for watching. By the way, to all our followers and all the thousands of people that have watched the videos over the last year or so, thanks very much.
Thank you so much. We
we do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we've had like 99% have been nothing but positive comments.
Yeah.
So we appreciate those, and we're glad you've enjoyed the videos. Recommend them to your friends, and they won't be coming quite so often, but we will be putting videos out from time to time. So keep tuned in, keep subscribing, and we hope
see you on the other side.
we hope to see you at one point soon. Take care and have a great time.
Bye.